Welcome to the Sorry You in My Seat podcast. Normally at this point I say something like, this is a show that brings together three best friends on a quest to find the very best that films have to offer, but not this week.
What are you going to say, Aaron?
This week I'm going to say, sit down, buckle your seatbelts and hold on tight. It's been a week of film. If you are joining us for the first time, we get around the mic each week to talk about films that we've seen, either good or bad, and we try and guide you towards the good ones and keep you away from the bad ones. We end each show by putting films we discussed into our vault, our top 100, or we put them into Sam's hole, which is a place where films do not come back from. Say hello, Sam.
Hello, Sam.
That's my co-host, Sam, and my other co-host is James.
Hello.
How are we doing this week? Are we all right?
I'm splendid. How are you, Sam?
I'm splendid.
And I am good.
No one asked you.
Yes, we're all good. So we're going to talk about, let's go straight off the bat and say we're talking about Bad Times at the Old Royale.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
First Man and A Star is Born.
Yes.
Three films that we've all... I've seen First Man. You haven't seen it, have you, James?
I know I've got a date with my mother to watch it.
And you've not seen it, Sam?
No, I've got a date with James's mother to see it.
So I'll take the lead on. But three big films, three potential Oscar noms, definitely three of 2018's big releases. We discussed all three of these in our trailer episode a few weeks back, so do listen to that episode as well.
Episode 9.
Episode 9 of the podcast, we looked at the trailers and we tried to predict what they were telling us, and hopefully this episode can shine a bit more light onto what actually happens in those films.
Yeah, because we were very wrong.
Exceptionally wrong in A Star is Born. And
I was going to say, how wrong could you be about First Man?
Well, yeah, that's true.
I mean, I haven't seen it. So.
Well, they didn't find Michael Jackson on the moon, I'm going to say that much, which I think is what we came to. Before we get onto that, I've got some just headline news this week, which you boys can give your opinion on. Has anyone seen the extended Split trailer?
No, I didn't bother. Q told me not to.
Have you seen it, James?
I have.
Doesn't that just tell you the entire film?
Yeah, and also it doesn't look as good as the original trailer.
No, I feel like I know now the beginning, middle and end of this film just from the extended trailer.
Yeah, I'm very glad I didn't watch it. A guy asked me today whether I've seen it or not, and I said nope.
I'm still all over this film when it comes out in January. I think it comes out January 17th. I'm still going to go watch it.
Oh, definitely.
But sometimes trailers can do more harm than good.
I was going to say, James McAvoy still looks pretty badass in it.
Yeah, it's a strong cast. I really like Sarah Paulson. I've started watching the American Horror Story new season as well. It's always good this time of year when you get American Horror starting. Calling me interested. I'm still going to go watch it. Have you seen the teaser trailer to the Aladdin film?
Yes.
I have not.
The complete opposite to telling you everything is the Aladdin teaser trailer, which tells you nothing.
Well, it tells you deserts exist.
Yes.
Does it tell you the name of the film?
It tells you Aladdin, and it has some purple and gold and a lamp, and that's about it.
Who's in it? Yeah.
I don't know. I haven't done any research into this live action.
I mean,
So
to
it
be
doesn't
fair,
even show you-
it's a teaser trailer, so...
Extended trailer for Aquaman came out. Dolph
Was that
Lundgren's
like the
Ginger now?
That was like the 5-minute one, wasn't it?
Yeah,
I saw that.
Did not like
Yeah,
it.
Jason Momoa, Amber Heard, and Dolph Lundgren apparently.
Yeah.
Not.
I think they've taken the badass of that character and just made him like a comedic Iron Man type thing. Don't like it.
I'm not. I will still watch it, but I'm not that bothered about it. It doesn't interest me really. The character, the storyline. It looks like they've just thrown absolutely everything into that film, and it looks like a right organ grinder of a final production.
I love the fact they've picked probably the least cool superhero and got the most cool actor to play him.
Yeah, I have seen though that they've released figurines of Jason Momoa with the green trousers and the gold shirt.
Oh, I can't imagine they look good.
Well, at the end of the trailer, it shows him for a split second, and he looks badass in it.
To be fair, I tried to forget after I saw Ginger Beard Dolph Lundgren. I was like, no.
What else has happened this week? Well, Hugh Jackman turned 50.
Happy birthday, Hugh Jackman.
Favourite Hugh Jackman film, James?
Logan.
Correct. Second best Hugh Jackman film, Sam?
Australia.
Wrong.
I've never seen
Wrong
it.
on all accounts.
I've never seen it. It was Wolverine.
I would have. Oh God, no.
Get out.
I would have accepted Swordfish, Prestige.
I like the Prestige.
Oh, I like the Prestige. Yeah.
Can't go wrong with Christopher Nolan.
Never seen Swordfish.
Oh, that's
You
good.
never seen Swordfish?
No.
You get to see Halle Belly's boobs. That's about it. That's
Halle
his claim to
Belly
fame. And Vinnie Jones is in it. It's one of the films. Do you remember that time in the early 2000s when someone thought Vinnie Jones was going to be the next big thing?
I do.
It's quite an exquisite John Travolta performance, I think.
It's like he's still got a hangover from working with Nicolas Cage that he's still trying to out Cage in a different film.
I need to go back and rewatch it. I remember watching Swordfish and thinking the first time. I think it might be in the cinema ticket box that I've got. But I remember going and seeing it and thinking, it was all right. It's okay.
I'll rewatch it with him.
Other Hugh Jackman films worthy of note. Obviously, Les Mis fans in the room.
Oh yes.
Not a musical fan.
I was going to
I
say
like Les Mis.
his biggest recent thing is The Greatest Showman, which I've actually got problems with on a, I said personal level. I don't like the character he portrays historically.
Yeah.
So the fact that he's like a happy-go-lucky scamp who's well-renowned, I dislike.
What's his name? Bartum, isn't it?
Yeah, the guy.
P.T. Bartum, or whatever his name is.
He's famous for
exploiting.
Thank you.
Yeah, exploiting.
And they make him so happy and cheery and like he's a good bloke, and he's not. So
he was a bit of a con man, a bit of a he was out for himself initially, wasn't he? And he saw a financial gain from it and exploited a few people along the way.
The film's meant to be pretty good though.
Yeah,
no, I've heard that.
I was going to say I've not heard a bad thing about it.
I just won't watch it.
Yeah.
Zac Efron's in it.
Oh, maybe I'll watch
like
it.
him.
Yeah, everyone likes Zac
lovely.
Efron.
He plays a young person in a troupe who falls in love with someone. I'm shocked.
Now, there's bound to be listeners screaming Hugh Jackman films silently to themselves and dying a little bit. Maybe you listen to this on the bus and you're dying a little bit, or on a train, or maybe in your car and you're thinking about ditching it.
Maybe you're Hugh Jackman.
Maybe you are Hugh Jackman, and there's bound to have been a better Hugh Jackman film for us to pull out, but I can't think of one off the top of my head.
He's 50, bless him, I'm sure.
Yes.
Also, quickly, he came out of nowhere. Do you remember when he got, I know he did some Australian soaps, but then he was Wolverine. Now think of an actor who could portray Wolverine.
No one.
You can't. Exactly.
No one could be Wolverine other than Hugh Jackman. And anyone who comes across, I will write a stern email to say, you are not Hugh Jackman.
I think I might know that.
Iron Fist got cancelled.
I
Thank
did.
God.
About time.
You did?
Season 2's out, isn't it?
Season 2's out.
Yeah,
and,
I did not give two shinies about the first season.
Apparently, it's a lot better than the first season. But
I've heard that.
that's like saying a hurricane is better than a genocide.
to be honest, I didn't mind Iron Fist season 1 because everyone said it was bad, and it was bad. But I kind of just watched it for the sake of watching it, learning about a character I knew nothing about.
Yeah, I was kind of the same, but I didn't like Danny Rand. I did not give two craps about Shang Long or whatever it's called.
Bad supporting characters.
Yeah, it wasn't great.
It's coming off the back of strong series like Daredevil, Punisher, that kind of stuff. I don't know in the timeline if it came out before Punisher or what have you, but it's definitely one of the weaker ones, like Nick Cage. Jessica Jones series 1 was amazing as well, and then
Nick Cage.
I would watch a TV series about Nick Cage being a superhero.
Yeah, Nick Cage. Have you not seen it when he defends Harlem? It's great series
against Cotton Face.
Against Cotton Face Off.
I'd watch that.
Yeah, I quite like Iron Fist for one reason, that if you watch it in the first series, every kind of
I know what you're gonna say.
No, I was just gonna say every 3 episodes there's like a boss level, and I thought that's quite good. Like it was like playing an old school like fighter game.
I thought you were gonna say your favourite bit is when they go to China, where they quite clearly gone to an alley.
They did not go to China at all.
You can still see New York in the background.
It's like all they did is they hired a load of Asian extras and changed some
really racist hats on them.
Yeah,
Yeah, he did.
they did. Yeah, they just got. There's like, how can we make this Asian man look more Asian? Get him carrying water or something. Like
Give him
that.
some rice.
Yeah. And they changed some plates on some black Humvees, and then all of a sudden it's like we're in China. No, you're not. What's even more believable, or less believable, sorry, from Iron Fist is every time he gets into a fight scene and he's like, let me put my hood up, so the audience clearly knows I'm not doing these fight scenes. Series 1 was watchable. Didn't have the bad guy that the Office series had. I think that was the strength of the Office TV series, is that when we talked about it a few times now, David Tennant, Jessica Jones, when you looked at Wilson Fisk in Daredevil, the bad guys were so good.
Yeah, I really like Cottonmouth in Luke Cage as well.
I loved it.
He was brilliant.
Fantastic.
Fantastic
Getting rid
actor
of
as well.
him. Getting rid of him. What was the point in that?
I know.
But Marvel's first chink in the armor, because they survived what?
No, they survived Daredevil, the film. You were going to say, right?
No, I was going to say that they survived the Defenders series,
Oh yeah, that's true.
Which was not good.
which was not good.
I've still not finished it. I've got 3 episodes left.
Oh, yeah.
Still?
And considering there's only like 7 episodes.
I was going to say, you've been stuck on episode 4 for about 2 years now.
Although I was saying today, I have not watched a TV series in ages, but now I know that the Purge one's out.
Yes.
What, you're smiling, Aaron?
No, I just realised what you thought I said a minute ago, which I didn't say.
We'll leave it there, shall we? Thin line voice. So I'm quite looking forward to the Purge TV series.
No, I'm going to address this one out. I said chink in the armour. All right? That was what I said.
I know, mate. I know.
You guys are
We stayed so silent.
just trying to make out me to be a bad guy.
We stayed so silent, Aaron.
Last one and a big one. Lincolnshire has been home to quite a few actors in the past. We've had obviously Tom Hanks and Ron Howard and Sarah McKellen come for the Da Vinci Code.
I know where you're going.
We had scenes from Sliding Doors filmed in Lincolnshire. We had scenes from Rush filmed in Lincolnshire at Cadwell Park. Chris Hemsworth didn't come, but they filmed some scenes here. Boston's going to get a celebrity soon to do a 6-part ITV. I don't know we're talking about the small screen now, but a 6-part ITV TV series about an American cop coming over to Brexit Britain, who's running away from something, but trying to save himself in the process of taking on a new challenge and a new case.
Yeah.
Who do you think that might be, James?
An actor.
A male actor. Heartthrob in the 80s. Career went downhill somewhat, and then kind of pulled it back out a little bit with Parks and Recs. This week he was...
Rob Lowe?
Rob Lowe is coming to Lincolnshire.
Are you joking?
No,
Rob Lowe.
it was all on
I
Facebook
absolutely
yesterday.
frigging love Rob Lowe.
No.
I do. I do like Rob Lowe.
The best thing Rob Lowe's done
He's
is...
going to the right place, though.
Yeah.
Boston.
Well, at the end of... there's an end of a Family Guy episode where he's laying in bed and he's in a bed across from Adam West, and he's like, we've got a big day ahead of us tomorrow. Tomorrow we make movies. Like, that's the only thing I've liked Rob Lowe ever done.
He played a young number one in Austin Powers: The Spy Shack.
Yes, yeah, he did. That. Yeah. But right,
Wayne's World. Well,
I've given Wayne's World, but then we did say his early career was okay. Stir of Echoes 2, James. Stir of Echoes 2.
Okay.
Boston will do to you, Rob Lowe, what Stir of Echoes 2 did to us. It will kill you inside. In fact, there's a theory that you are only 6 people away from the person you need to speak to. That, you know, through connections, we can get to the person through 6 people. 6 degrees of separation. So someone pass this on to Rob Lowe. Don't do it. Don't do it.
I have some friends that live in Boston that listen to this podcast, so they're not going to tell him because they're not going to be happy that we're talking about Boston this way.
I work in Boston quite frequently.
I don't think anyone lives in Boston by choice.
I work in Boston all the time. It is what it is. But I have 2 rules in life.
Rob Lowe's going to Boston. Yeah. It's just such a weird sentence.
I was like, this is clickbait. This is going to take me through to a weird site. And it didn't. It was an actual genuine story. And he's like, I'm excited to come over. Like, no, Rob.
Obviously, he's never seen pictures of it.
I think we could end the episode there.
No, we can't.
Nothing against Boston, but I have 2 rules in life. Don't let me die in Boston. Don't let me die in Skegness. They're the only rules I have in this world.
Well, I'll see you in Gainsborough, mate.
Yeah.
I don't like Gainsborough.
Right, let's move on then. So we talked about that. Actually, before we go on to the 3 big hits, any films that you want to talk about that you've watched this week?
One actually, because I mentioned to you, I'd love to put this film in the vault.
Is it Scary Movie again? Because you're not allowed to talk about that.
It's not. I watched loads of kids' films yesterday with little, but I did watch the 2 Lego movies, Lego Movie and Lego Batman. I'd love to put Lego Batman in the vault. That film is so good.
Lego Batman is awesome.
Start to finish, I was just crying. So good, James. You don't look happy about this.
No, Will Arnett, one of my favourite comedic actors from Arrested Development. I thought he was freaking brilliant. I love Lego Batman. I think it's fantastic.
Absolutely brilliant.
Also, it's a film you don't see anymore. It's just fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's no reason behind it. Obviously, it's to sell merchandise, but
yeah, of course,
it's fun.
But rewatching Lego Movie, it's just as funny.
So here's the thing: I haven't actually seen Lego Movie.
It's
I've
brilliant,
seen
mate.
Lego Batman.
Give it a go.
You not seen Lego Batman?
No, I've seen Lego Batman. I haven't seen the Lego Movie.
Because Lego Movie 2 is coming out soon. So
yeah, a few weeks back we did the Confessions episode, and Shep came forward saying that his favourite Joker was Jared Leto. Shep, if you're listening, mate, I would even put Zach Galifianakis' Joker from Lego Batman ahead of Jared bloody Leto.
I would put Ramirez from the 1966 Joker in the Batman series, the guy who statistically and contractually refused to shave his mustache off.
I think he just did that personally. If you look at old 1960s Batman, as James is saying, he's just
Cesar Ramon, that was his name.
Cesar Ramon, yeah. I was going to say Ramirez. He's not.
He didn't direct.
No.
Zombie films.
He quite clearly has just put white face paint over his mustache, which is clearly visible in just about every scene he's in.
Yeah, it's okay.
Right then, the only reason I bring up these other films is that I watched a film that I fell asleep during, which I haven't done in a very long time, and I think you, James, are going to be annoyed at me for falling asleep at it. And I think, Sam, you will never ever watch this film, so it doesn't really matter.
It's just his life. It doesn't matter.
I watched Death of Stalin and fell asleep.
Oh, get
I
out.
love that film.
I love.
Yeah, well, all right, no, okay, Sam, just sum up the plot, mate.
Stalin dies.
Oh, he's not wrong.
Sam out.
It wasn't that it was a bad film. I had a lot of work on last week, and I was like really tired, and I thought I'm going to put this on to stay awake, and it did the complete opposite. I fell asleep. I got to I must have been no, in fact I was 10 minutes from the end because the cat stood on the controller and paused it, and then so I did see that I was 10 minutes from the end, so I did miss a lot. But it's a lot to take in when you're knackered and exhausted, and I found sleep an easier option than keep watching the film.
Was it the first time you'd seen it?
Yeah. Don't get me wrong, Jason Isaacs is absolutely stunning in it.
So Jason Isaacs plays a Russian general who leads a kind of coup. Who does he base his acting performance on?
Sean Bean.
Yeah, he does. He does a fantastic job of it as well.
So I'm not going to go into it. I just want to bring up the fact that I fell asleep during a film, which has not happened in I think since I went to watch one of the Narnia films that I fell asleep in the cinema. I mean, that was the last time. It was a warm day. You know, I was very comfortable.
It was Narnia.
It was a bad film.
Yeah, I fell asleep during Pirates of the Caribbean once. The second one.
Oh yeah, I remember you saying that in another episode. Yeah,
it was one of the. I don't think we actually released it. So the quick story is, I fell asleep when the Kraken first attacks, and woke up at the second time the Kraken awakes, and then thought the film was only 20 minutes long.
and then the third one, it's like they couldn't keep up the budget for the Kraken, and he's just dead.
He's dead.
It was no explanation.
I love that. It's what's that over there? Oh, you know the big threat, the second film.
Yeah,
it's that.
Yeah, we had to get rid of it. Dead squid. I'm not going to go into the plot of Death of Stalin. It's an ensemble cast where it tells the final days of Stalin, and it's a comedy where no one puts on a Russian accent. Then they just kind of go with whatever accent they want to. But it's got people like Mark Palin in it, and you know, a lot of characters in Paul Whitehouse and Jason Isaacs and Steve Buscemi's in it. And I thought, oh yeah, I really, really want to watch this. And I must admit, other than Jason Isaacs, I was a bit underwhelmed by the whole thing. But it's not my area of film that I'm kind of pulled to. I was pulled to because of the cast, not the topic. Yeah,
the writer's Iannucci, who wrote like The Thick of It, that political drama on the BBC, political comedy on the BBC. Yeah. So that sort of thing.
Yeah,
I loved it. I thought it was brilliant.
Another actually funny story, because a lot of the time, if you first listen to this podcast, we start talking about one thing and then we sidetrack. We're already nearly 20 minutes in and we haven't talked about any of the 3 films that we were meant to talk about. The Narnia films are, when they go through the line, for the wardrobe in The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe, they appear on a beach, on a coastal beach, which is different to the original films. These are the newer ones. And when I was in New Zealand, we went to go visit that place. It's called Cathedral Cove, right? It's this really, really nice bit of untouched beach, and if I'm in a place where they filmed a movie, I'd like to kind of go and check it out, you know, that kind of thing. And went to Hobbiton as well while I was in New Zealand, which was pretty cool.
Nice.
Yeah. So we're on this cove on this thing, and it's like, oh yeah, this is where they filmed it, you know, this opening scene. And then there was this little like cave that you could crawl through. You couldn't walk through it, but you could just crawl through it. And the people that was with were like, oh, you know, go in there and kind of it'd be really cool, see what's on the other side. So I went through it, and I absolutely joke you not, being around on the other side of the world, it couldn't be any further away from home, crawled through this little cave and scrawled on the wall, that someone had obviously written, was Aaron loves cock. What is that? That is one of my top 3 pieces of graffiti I've ever found.
I bet it was the other Aaron Hall as well.
It probably was, yeah. I've got a twin Aaron Hall somewhere that's just been a pain in my ass. But yeah, I just crawled through and then I was like, Aaron loves what?
Do you know what the most upsetting thing about that story is? That sounds exactly like the sort of thing that Sam would do.
Yeah.
Where are you going tomorrow? Oh yeah.
I like to think it was one of Sam's ancestors, and it was like that was actually some of the first hieroglyphs. It's like the first hieroglyph penis. No, yeah, but he wasn't actually drawing of a penis, which would have been Sam. It was more. It was just the word.
Was it spelled right?
Yeah, COCK. Yeah. There we go. Next week, I'll come up with another graffiti story and we'll pick it up.
I was going to say, that was in your top 3, so I'm looking forward to the other 2.
Yes, yeah. The number 1 is an absolute belter. I'll save that for another time. Right then, so here's how we're going to go. James is going to talk about, he's going to lead the conversation on Bad Time at El Royale. Sam, if you then want to talk about A Star is Born, and then I will bring it up the rear with First Man. Okay, so James, take it away.
Okay, so Bad Times at the El Royale. So the El Royale is a rundown hotel that borders California and Las Vegas. So there's a big point in the
Nevada.
I do apologise. You are correct. It's Nevada.
Las Vegas is in Nevada, so it's fine.
Yeah, thank you. Can't believe I've just been schooled on geography by Sam. I feel like I failed my ancestors.
James loves cup.
One fateful night. One fateful night, 7 strangers converge on the hotel. Hijinks ensue. So, 7 characters. There's a priest, played by Jeff Bridges.
Yeah, I'm counting this as well, mate.
Darlene Sweet. She's the struggling
Singer.
Why are we struggling with this?
Struggling singer, trying to make it on her own.
2.
Seymour Sullivan, who's a vacuum salesman.
3.
Dakota Johnson. She plays a kind of femme fatale, if you will.
Very good, yeah.
Later on, she's joined by her sister.
Cop out.
Cop out, indeed.
Rose.
I was going to say there's a concierge, played by Lewis Pullman.
Mm-hmm.
And then, later on, they're joined by a mysterious character called Billy Lee.
Played by Chris Hemsworth.
Played by
A shirtless Chris Hemsworth.
But he's not technically shirtless. He just won't. He just refuses to put his buttons on.
He doesn't technically check into the hotel, but we're overlooking that small fact. Okay, 7 strangers in a hotel that borders two counties, I guess, in America. So, yeah.
So instantly you're thinking, oh, what happens here? They are all strangers to each other. They've all got ulterior motives for being at the hotel. So,
Yes.
I loved the trailer for this because I liked the storyline. I liked the simplicity, but I knew there was going to be more to it. It's directed by Drew Goddard, who has done and written. He's written on Buffy the Vampire Slayer, which is not the best, but it's my favorite TV series of all time. He wrote and directed The Martian, which I think is fantastic. I do like The Martian. And a little bit of trivia for you. He's the upcoming writer for X-Force, the upcoming Deadpool film.
Ooh. Very good.
I love every aspect of this film. I absolutely adore it. I think the characters are fantastic. I think the acting's fantastic. The soundtrack for me, now this is good. So this is a bit weird because A Star is Born is about 2 singers. But I felt music played a more important factor in this story. How Darlene Sweet, music carries the story forward.
Yeah.
Like,
we didn't mention the music yesterday, but it was a massive part of it. And
it's fantastic.
It worked perfectly.
I was going to say the soundtrack for that must be cracking. I like the hotel. It's supposed to give a rundown hotel type vibe, but it's the sort of place I'd like to stay at. The concierge is kind of creepy, but not creepy. You know when there's something off about someone, he gives a distinct weird vibe. Jeff Bridges is fantastic in this film.
Yes, he is.
And I've got something for you. So when I saw the trailer for this film, I was thinking Chris Hemsworth looked like he's having fun. Do you not think when you look at Chris Hemsworth, this is the part that he was born to play, this kind of character?
I think so, yeah.
Charismatic.
Yeah.
It's a very different Chris Hemsworth. If you go into this as a Chris Hemsworth fan expecting Thor, then this is not that Chris Hemsworth. And you need to go into this thinking more Cabin in the Woods, which Drew Goddard had a writing credit for.
It down, but yeah.
So I think there's the connection there. And I think it's also worth mentioning that this isn't Chris Hemsworth's film. It's not his film.
No.
He's lending his acting skills to complement the storyline, but this is very much a Jeff Bridges.
This is a friendship-based film.
Yes.
It's about
absolutely.
The best relationship is between the father, Jeff Bridges, and Darlene Sweet, who was played by Cynthia Erivo. She's a Grammy winner, so her singing in it is actually her singing.
Yeah, I mean, her singing's on par, isn't it?
But I still think the show stealer. Actually, that's the thing. I don't think I think they're all fantastic. They're all at the top of the game. John Hamm, who's never really a leading man. He's the leading man of Mad Men, and he's in a couple of episodes of Black Mirror.
Mm-hmm.
He's fantastic in this film. He's just that kind of 50s type door-to-door salesman, that kind of creepy, brilliant, absolutely fantastic. Then event happens, it switches, and then you see the acting side of everyone else. Dakota Fanning, who's obviously, Dakota Johnson, who's famous for playing the submissive character in 50 Shades of Grey. In this, she got a shotgun. That ain't no 50 Shades of Grey.
She got weapons.
And I just think every aspect of the story. So there's always a part of the film where you're thinking this is getting boring. At no point did that happen in the cinema yesterday. I loved every aspect of it. It was just a roller coaster, genuine surprises. Maybe it's because Hotel Artemis, it wasn't really sold to us, was it? We had to go out and find information on that film to go see it. To me, this is the same thing. Not much has been promoted. It's its first week of release and it's only got 3 screenings, which suggests to me it's only got a week and a half left in its run and then it's gone. Yeah. Which is worrying to me because I think this is a lot like Hotel Artemis, that the more people... These are the kind of films we need to support because they're kind of different. They're a labour of love. Drew Goddard wrote and directed it. When you write and direct a film, you show passion for it. I think it's fantastic and a compliment to him that every actor on it has said how much they wanted to be in it because of the writing.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And that's definitely a something to mention in this review is that the storyline changes so many times. It's just pings from, you think you know where it's going and something will just happen and you're like, whoa, okay, next. And then you're following it and then about an hour in, you start to think, okay, this is anyone's game. This could go anywhere. You know, like you say, it goes from a kind of mystery-based beginning, with this kind of like 1950s, 60s motel, to a thriller, to it kind of crosses a lot of genres, I felt. And it's interesting what you say about the music, because one thing is that to prove how much the music plays a central performance in the film, where the dividing line is between Nevada and California, there is actually a red line on the floor which shows the two sides. The jukebox is bang in the middle. It's the only thing that crosses both sides.
That's really cool.
And I thought that was a really good nod to say, how important how the music was a theme, throughout the film.
Yeah.
So
this is a bit trivia, and I was just wondering what you two would have thought of this. So in my bit of research, I found out that originally signed on, it was Russell Crowe to play John Hamm's character.
I was going to say that when you mentioned John Hamm. I read that today.
I don't think that would have worked.
No,
I don't.
John Hamm needed to be in this. There's a big campaign at the moment to get him as the next Batman, isn't there?
I think weirdly he's got the jaw for it.
He's got the Bruce Wayne in him. I think Batman's a real personal. When he becomes a Cape Crusader, but he's definitely Bruce Wayne material.
Yeah.
So on the road, not bacon, which is how we are a roadmap of movies. To me, this is kind of a sleeper hit. So this to me isn't perfection. This is implied perfection. To me, this is northeast bordering on the north. This is near Shannon. I mean, to me, and I know it's not going to... Oscar probably for music, I'd imagine. Maybe best supporting.
Screenplay,
actually,
I think
screenplay
is where it's probably strongest is going to come there.
Yeah.
For me, one of my favourite films I've definitely seen this year and possibly on a list of top 20. Because I loved it.
I think Bridges might get a nod in, maybe not the Oscars, but the Globes. I think he might get a nod for a supporting role, I think.
Do you think he gets better the older he gets? Because I saw the remake of True Grit, and I thought he was sensational in that.
I think the thing is, though, is not many people can remember him being young.
Oh, that's true.
I think because anything really pre-Lebowski, most people are a bit hazy with, and I think most people now know him as, your kind of True Grit, your R.I.P.D., your Crazy Heart, those kind of performances.
Men Who Stare at Goats.
Men Who Stare at Goats, that kind of stuff.
He just plays the big Lebowski, to be fair.
Yeah, he does, but he's awesome in it.
I thought this was really good. I think it was very Tarantino-esque because how the music plays a part. And what Tarantino does really well is he can film an awkward silence really well, or a comfortable silence really well. And I think this film is laden with those, conversations where the response isn't too quick. It kind of plays out its own performance, particularly the end scene. The end scene is... Act 3, the very final scene is kind of 15 minutes long. In most films, they kind of get you to that point and it's over very quickly. I thought the ending of the film really kind of played out at a pace that was unusual for a film like this.
Yeah, because up to that, it was just building blocks, though, wasn't it? It was just show this story.
Yeah, but
it was done in such a weird way that he actually didn't put the building blocks in the right order. And it still worked so well. It still intermingled the film perfectly.
Do you know why that worked? Because you didn't know where the storyline was going. So every time they were doing building blocks, you didn't know if this was just backstory, if this was where we were going.
Yes, exactly.
I loved that.
I really like the craftsmanship of a film that gives you so many questions at the beginning and so tightly can answer all those by the end of it.
Yeah.
And I can't really give an example without giving away this storyline, but there are certain, for example, there's one character at the beginning who's looking off into the distance and it's quite unusual.
Yeah.
And then later on that's explained and you're like, right, that was why. And then it makes sense to other things in that character's storyline where you're like, okay, I get that now. But for me, it was the twists, it was the turns, it was the quiet bang, of certain scenes which made the whole cinema jump. And because it was free
really
screenings,
did, didn't it?
I found the whole cinema was engaged. I found that the whole cinema a pretty good 80% full, wasn't it?
Yeah. Small screening though.
Yeah. Screen 9 of Lincoln Odeon, probably my personal favourite.
It's intimate.
Yeah, we saw Lion in there.
We did, and I mooned the people behind me.
Yeah, James's trousers somehow fell down during the film. we had to wait for everyone to leave before he could pull his trousers up.
I would like to point out, it was the day that we did 3 films, and during the first film, they were coming down, and the second one, my arse had gone completely numb. And
was it all in the same screen?
No.
But for this, my arse had gone numb, so I didn't realise that there was and I was jiggling in the seat, and basically by the end of the movie, I was bare ass naked.
Mine was so good, James's pants came off. That's how good that film was.
And then, yeah. I love Lion. Yes, love this film. Brilliant. But, and I think this is a strength, especially when we talk about some other films coming up, because the cast is quite small and everyone has an equal part, there's no weak point. I thought a certain character was the weakest point, but the revelation at the end actually makes their performance completely 180, and you understand why that character would be like that, and therefore probably the strongest.
Yeah.
So without that was me desperately trying not to give anything away.
I think you can
there.
watch this film a few times and see things that you didn't see, and watch it.
I think so as well.
Focusing on a certain character and then watching it again and watching a different character. The minor criticism with the film I cannot say on the podcast because it gives away a fundamental part of the film.
Yeah.
I'm just acting that part out for the other guys.
That is the bit though, isn't it? Yeah. You'll know what we mean when
it's
you
a
go
turning
see it.
point in the film, and I felt okay. But yeah, absolutely brilliant. Could you fault the film? Any problems with it?
For me, no, I loved it. I loved it.
The only one I could say is with the mix of storylines, the genres, like you said earlier, they do get a bit. Things happen that I kind of wish didn't happen. That bit that you acted out for us is a major downside for me because of what happens afterwards. But I do remember thinking that if you love something and you wish you had more of it, isn't that a good thing? That means they've done their job.
Yes.
It's like the biggest criticism you ever heard of The Dark Knight was you wanted more Joker.
Yeah.
Well, that means you got the perfect amount of Joker because you wanted more.
Yeah.
So if you got, isn't it better to want more than say, oh, I wish he was in it less? So that sort of thing. So to me, that's probably a negative, but at the same time, quite a positive as well.
Yeah. Did you read when you was doing a bit of research in the film that some internet nerd figured out when it was based?
It was me, wasn't it, after the film?
No. It was on IMDb.
Right.
In the trivia, but they figured it out because of the stuff they were saying, and it was January 29th, 1969 was when the film was based. They're saying roughly.
Is it because of the speech that Nixon's giving on the telly?
Yeah.
Right, so they worked out from that scene when it was, because that is it. You're not really sure. You know, it's got nods to 50s, 60s.
To be fair, that's a good shout. Other than the fact that he's a door-to-door salesman, which you don't have anymore, all the other characters are.
He was very racist and sexist.
I was going to say there
wasn't
are nods to that as well because
but the cars they're driving, the motel itself, those kind of things, the pie in the in the turnstile, the cafeteria thing.
Not technically a cameo. Nick Offerman's in it.
I was going to say this. I in the opening scene, I was like, there he is, Ron Swanson in all his glory, and then pops up again later on in the film, doesn't he? I like him. He's great. Who is actually in the first 2 minutes, you see him ripping open floorboarding, and like in this room, he's like kind of like taking a room apart. Is actually a carpenter. Yeah. And he does acting to fund his workshop, his carpentry workshop.
Oh, wow.
Some of the stuff that he does on Parks and Rec, because the character is also like that, is stuff that he does.
He actually does it, yeah. There's a scene, there's one episode in Parks and Rec where they're out on a canoe and he actually built that.
He built a canoe, yes, I do remember
that kind of stuff. Yeah, really talented guy, really funny guy as well. My only criticism with it, if you've seen the film, is when John Hamm's character debugs his room, which so when he's pulling out all the kind of the listening devices, he then goes and makes a phone call out in a phone box over the street, and you think that is exactly where I would put it.
He didn't check it out.
I thought, okay, but that is such a nerdy thing to say. Faultless film.
Tell you what, he pair of glasses. How much that changes that character from like completely scumbag to. Oh, nice guy.
Well, this reminded me very much of a film called Identity.
Do you know what I was just thinking that? Because I was thinking when I was writing it down, and you know how I loved Hotel Artemis, maybe I'm just a big mark for hotels. You stick a hotel in it, and I like it. Shining, loved it.
With Identity's John Cusack film where they all check into a motel and someone gets killed and it's a big murder mystery, but one of the people is Jake Busey, Gary Busey's son. We've mentioned Gary Busey now more times than Hitler and
The Rock and
Kareem. So I think Gary Busey's winning up there, orbiting Earth.
Sharon was crazy.
He's a serial killer in it, and so he's the likely one. But Dr. Cox is in it.
He is,
and he does that thing where he's a big bloke, but he puts on some glasses, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, he's not that hard. He looks harmless now. Great film. Bad Times at the El Royale. I don't know what it's called then.
And no sequel.
No.
I love that.
No. It's just a standalone pick. Yeah.
Everyone so far, when I've mentioned it, because like I say, not a lot of people have heard of it, they've gone, "I was at Western." No.
It's weird, isn't it?
Yeah, just because what it's called.
It does worry me that this sort of film isn't promoted. For example, like A Star Is Born, which is everywhere. So, Sammy, talk to us about A Star Is Born.
Well, I kind of feel bad following that because I've not written anything. I've been at work all day, so I've put nothing down on
Well,
paper.
to be fair, this is a film we've all seen.
We've all seen it, so we can chip in.
Help me out. So it was directed by Bradley Cooper. It was his first directing credit. Brilliant. Stars himself. I'll mention later a few more people that was meant to play him. And Lady Gaga and Sam Elliott. It's about a country rock singer called Jackson Maine.
Wicked name.
Wicked name. Which is, I think this is the first one of the 4 films where that's his name. The other 3, he had a different name. So he's at the top of his career, meets a young girl in a drag bar of all places, listens to her, absolutely adores her voice, falls for her very quickly, starts bringing her along to the shows, getting her to sing, getting her to get her talent out. And the next majority of the film is their relationship building, her career building into something bigger. Jackson Maine, to start off with, is you can tell he's got a problem with drink. Hence how he meets Ali going to this bar, and it's basically his struggle with his alcoholism, with his wife, with Ali becoming bigger than him, and it's just a big struggle trying to deal with life from there on. Brilliant. I could not wait to talk about this film with you guys.
I think it's worth mentioning, I think we hit the nail on the head with 80% of the story in the trailer episode. When I said, I think we've seen this before, and as you were just explaining there, the trailer told us very clearly that Bradley Cooper's character, Jackson Maine, discovers someone, played by Lady Gaga, who he falls for because of her beauty, but also because of her voice. And because it's this untapped, natural... he keeps you coming back to the phrase, she's got a story to tell and she needs to tell it. And that's kind of what his driving forces to want to meet her and talk to her and chat to her, and romance ensues, like you say. And then it is that battle of her career takes off quite well, and then with his own demons. It's that, but that's as far as we got. A lot happens in this film that we did not see coming.
Oh, yes.
And which... to me, made the film all the more enjoyable. 100% agree. I think it's a phenomenal film. I think, James, you think the same?
I do. I don't think it's phenomenal. I think it's a great film.
Yeah.
So I do think it has a lot of negatives that get hidden very well by the stellar performance of Lady Gaga. Because I did not see that coming. And that's I'm not a big horror. What's that? You mentioned it at the beginning. American Horror Story. She was in that, wasn't she? Apparently she killed it.
Oh, she's in the hotel series. Yeah.
Apparently she killed it. I'm not a big fan of that. I've never seen it. So this was the first acting experience I saw of Lady Gaga. Yeah, she was brilliant. And I did say on that episode 8, I said this film will stand on her acting. And it stands very highly.
Yeah. There's so much to talk about with this, without giving too much of the storyline away.
It's hard, isn't it? I think we're okay because as long as it's about their careers.
So let's look at the Lady Gaga performance then. For me, what I found with this is I really believed her love for Bradley Cooper.
Yes.
And that's
I don't know why I sounded so surprised.
That's what I think is and I heard this in another podcast, and so I am kind of quoting it, but the core essence of this film is you have to believe their relationship. You have to believe that those two are, they're out for each other in terms of unpassionate, undivided love.
Absolutely.
If you can see that, I think it's a great film, because where I found Lady Gaga less convincing was around her when she's talking about how she'd applied to every major label and never got the part because of her looks and her nose, which ironically I know she struggled with in real life and should have come the most natural. But for me, I found those bits a little bit forced, because I was thinking, hey, Gaga, we all know that you were actually a multi-platinum award-winning artist.
Do you know what? That's actually one of my biggest problems with it. My biggest problem with that is she's going, it's always held me back. And then I'm just thinking, you're fucking Lady Gaga. Yeah. No way has that held you back.
Yeah.
Because Sam was telling me, but it did hold her back. And I was like, what is she? If that hadn't held her back, would she be Jesus now? We'd be like hailing it.
I know that I think what maybe drew her to the part, and I know there's quite a few interviews with Bradley Cooper online, is that she herself had struggles breaking out into the music scene because people were judging on her looks, not her music credentials and her ability. So there's some parallels to this storyline, which is weird because that's the bit I didn't find as convincing. Now, I found her absolutely convincing as the girlfriend, and then leading on to, as you said, the wife of Bradley Cooper's character. That to me was never an issue. Now Bradley Cooper, where did this come from? Where did this come from?
No, he's always had this.
No, has he? What in
Silver Linings Playbook?
Yeah, but Wedding Crashers. When you watch Wedding Crashers, did you think that guy there, the jock, is going to go on to do this film?
No.
No.
Even Limitless.
But then again, I love
the film.
Limitless, yeah.
Then again, when I saw that film, I didn't think Vince Vaughn several years later would bore me to death in True Detective Series 2, but he did.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Or Brawl in Cell Block 99. We'll talk about that another time.
Or Couples Retreat. Hold on.
Where are we going with this?
No, but then then in Yes Man again, he's kind of always played that kind of secondary character.
Hangover, he's just a cool guy.
Hangover, yeah, and then all of a sudden we start to get him in, like you say,
Silver Linings Playbook,
Limitless, and then Silver Linings Playbook. Wow, what a performance that was!
Beautiful.
And so I love the fact that he's at the helm of this film. I think he's stunning, absolutely brilliant.
Do you know who was supposed to play Ali?
So
did you read it?
No, I can.
Emma Watson. It's always Emma Watson.
No, apparently Bradley Cooper, Warner Brothers, he had to sort of beg them to let him have Lady Gaga. He's worked with her before, and he actually it was Beyonce. Yeah.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, but
you know what's really weird?
She said that's who they wanted, and she said no because she wanted to work on a career. But they was really pushing it, going, there's not enough. If Beyonce would have taken that role, there's not enough Beyonce, so they're just trying to push having her in it more.
Right.
I'm so glad that didn't happen.
No,
I know it's easy to say I wouldn't have believed it. I wouldn't have been able to believe it.
Beyonce was also up for Darling Sweet in Bad Times at the El Royale.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So that's who they wanted.
Now, my worry with that is
she would have overshadowed.
But this is the worrying part of movies, is that when you put in, this is why I like indie film, and more so than ever now, is because these are labels like Warner Brothers wanting to put her in because she'll sell tickets and she'll put bums on chairs. That's all it is, because where's Beyonce's acting career gone to say, oh yeah, she should have played that role? A potential Oscar-winning...
I was going to say Austin Powers got number.
Okay, so I win that argument. like this on script is a potential Oscar-winning film. That, and you know that because it's the fourth time that they've made this film, and it will not be the last. This film will come out in our generation, not our generation, but in our lifetime. We will see this film again with Zac Efron's great grandchildren will be in this film.
So, if I had to pick a negative about it, two negatives really.
Be careful what you say, James.
All right,
he's got a knife.
Right. So two negatives, and I have talked to you about this. Is that, bearing in mind these are two music performers, there's only two parts in the film where music actually plays a part in the story. Right at the end and right at the beginning. And that middle part where they both got music careers, if you change that to they were butchers, she became a slightly better butcher, the storyline wouldn't change. So
of all the things you could have gone to, you went to a butcher.
But that's what I mean. They could be skater boys, and they could say "see you later, boy."
I still don't agree with that.
No,
they're musicians. Like that's the big. So they have to be musicians.
No. What I mean is
keep bringing it up.
No, it's the point of the music. I mean, they try to use music in the film as this starting point, which they do, and as an ending point, which they do. But in the middle, it plays no part. But they try to force it to make a point, but it doesn't really.
No, I don't agree with that. I think there's some songs that Jackson Maine, Brad Cooper's character, makes her do that are big parts of it, to really push her into a career. What I'm saying is, don't get me wrong, it hits a point where I didn't give a crap about her music career, but I think personally, I don't agree with that.
Okay,
for me,
but then again, I bought the soundtrack.
It fell down.
No, don't get me wrong. I don't dislike the music. I don't think music's a bigger point in the film.
Yeah, but listening to it reminds me of parts of the film where I'm like, oh, this bit was amazing. Do you know what I mean?
No, I do. Yeah.
For me, and this isn't telling you anything that isn't in the trailers, I think when we start going down the territory of seeing Bradley Cooper's character of Jackson Maine being an alcoholic, I was like, yeah, we've seen this. We are in familiar waters with a veteran musician who, what I liked is he's still in the peak of his career. This isn't someone who is washed up or on the way down.
We thought it was.
Yeah, which is more that kind of crazy heart storyline. Again, Jeff Bridges playing the alcoholic rock star, country western star. He's still very much at the height, and he's battling some demons that you find a little bit more out throughout the film, but you're never really given the full backstory of what he's dealing with. I think there are some tropes around, again, the kind of the love story and why he falls in love with her, then being the one thing that causes them to argue, around her kind of appearance and her, what she means to be an artist, that being compromised by the music industry. And I was like, okay, we've seen this. For me, I think it was a really good film to go watch if you want to look at commenting on directing skills. And this is something that I mentioned to you the other day. Two things in particular. When he pulls Lady Gaga on stage for the first time and she doesn't want to do it and she does and she kind of goes out, it's like an open air, Red Rock kind of stadium, outdoor stadium gig kind of thing. What's really good is you see all the crowd as he's playing. When she goes out on stage,
you don't see him at all.
You do not see the crowd. The camera for the entire performance focuses on her and spins around her, showing you and giving the audience the only thing that matters. She wasn't there for the crowd. She was there because she had something to say, which is the point of the film and the point of her character. And I thought that is really, really well done. I think the second thing to mention is the last 30 seconds of the film, I think had one of the best edits of a film I think I've ever seen. Clever, that totally last 30 seconds. And I was sat, because I didn't go with you two, I was sat front row, I was sat row A of the cinema because it was full. And this screening, there was kind of like these 4 rows before you get to the ones that kind of go up. And everyone in this area was a 40-year-old woman with a tissue that came out of, like you were saying, either the bra or the sleeve. And we were all in tears at the end of that film. And I was holding it in to that last 30 seconds and I went, damn! And I just went and I couldn't hold it. And I thought, genius. I cannot think.
I think I might be dead inside because I was just like, oh, that's
well, we'll talk off here because we can't give away it. But I thought the last 30 seconds was, the last 15 seconds was probably some of the best acting and the best way to end that film. I thought was absolutely perfect. And I want to bring it up before either of you two do, because Sam Elliott.
Do you
know what, that's weird, because I was going to bring up maybe not Sam Elliott, but the other stuff. What lets it down is its supporting cast, probably other than Sam Elliott, because what you've just said there about the relationship between those two, girlfriend and boyfriend, you're right. I thought that was fantastic. There are world-class actors out there, and when they have a love interest, I don't believe it, but I genuinely believed it between Bradley Cooper and Lady Gaga. So actually, yes, for that alone, that was some of the best acting ever. The supporting cast in it is incredibly weak.
Yeah, there are some bad people in that.
They are.
I kind of agree with that.
Are you talking about the shady music manager with an accent?
I did not like him.
When he was first there, I thought he had the potential to be the slimy character he was definitely going to turn into. And then, it's so cliched, and I detested the supporting cast.
Well, which is very weird, because in Bad Times at El Royale, there's a cutback scene with a music producer, isn't there?
Yeah,
he's only in it for about a minute,
and
who plays that part so much better than the guy in Star is Bond.
I forgot about that guy. So slimy. He literally oozes into that suit. But no, I did have a massive problem. Actually, yes, that was a point I wanted to make. Fantastic. And weirdly, I believed Sam Elliott's relationship with Bradley Cooper, because they play brothers.
Yes.
Just quickly to mention that. I thought the relationship was strongest when neither of them were talking.
Yeah.
And for example, when you first see me, he's putting him to bed and he doesn't even notice Lady Gaga. Which for some reason I cannot pronounce. Lady Gaga.
GG, mate.
That kind of relationship. And when they talked, I didn't really care, but it was like the knowing looks. And then later on, about 3/4 of the movie, they kind of talk to each other without talking. Like he nodded his head and the mustache will waver. And you're just thinking, that's Sam Elliott's mustache in overdrive.
Yeah.
That's some top-notch mustache.
Mustache have always weirded me out. As a man who can grow hair on his face, I've never known why someone would go, I'm going to get rid of it all.
I did.
But I'm going to keep this bit just on my lip because
I had the mustache for a while,
but I don't know why someone would do that. Especially be clean shaven for the rest of your face.
I know why. Because they want to be Sam Elliott.
That's the only thing I can come down to is that.
Or Nick Offerman.
I think he's bringing it back. He's doing well to bring it back. But I mean, Sam Elliott is. I mean, I guarantee you couldn't find a picture of him without a mustache.
There was a film famously where I
was always for Tom Selleck's mustache, to be fair.
Sorry?
Tom Selleck's mustache was
I see that's a crap.
But then again, in Friends, he did get rid of that mustache for a while.
I
did not like that.
You find out big upper lip. Yeah, big lip when you take away a mustache. Sam Elliott's mustache is absolutely glorious.
I love the storyline and I love the music because Sam had to tell me they were original songs, so I'm not a big fan.
Which Bradley Cooper also wrote or co-wrote.
So that was fantastic. Like I say, music to me wasn't a driving point of the film, but the music in it, which is I don't want people to think I was slagging the music. Music is fantastic.
Yeah, the music's brilliant. I did quite a lot of reading on it today. Willie Nelson's son got brought into it, and he had a big part of writing the music. Now, okay, Willie Nelson's son, you could probably guess which songs he did. And then a lot of the songs was written by Lady Gaga and Mark Ronson. You can kind of tell which ones the Mark Ronson ones were. Yeah. But no, I absolutely loved it. I listened to the soundtrack when I got home. Loved it and went out and bought it on CD so I can have it on in the car. Just fantastic. The songs are brilliant. They're so good.
Yeah, aesthetically, I like Bradley Cooper's band. I like the guitar he plays. I like how similarly when he's playing, the camera focuses more on his playing than his interaction with the crowd, which I thought was really good. He doesn't come across as egotistical. He comes across as someone who's passionate about music. It also strangely made me want to have some tequila when I was watching the film as well. He knocks that back quite willingly.
I don't know if you noticed this, but I mentioned it to Sam. It has the worst foreshadowing in the first 2 minutes of that film. The worst foreshadowing.
Oh, yeah. No, I like that.
Oh, I hated it. I was like...
Yeah, you're on about when he's in the car and something's happening in the background.
Yeah.
No, I like that. When you know the film, it's hindsight, isn't it?
Yeah, I guess.
All right, fair enough. Dangerous Waters.
And that does happen again at some point, by the way, I've read.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So definitely, if you've got time to go watch one film this week... Star is Born?
I disagree.
Or Bad Times at the Royale?
I'd say so.
No, the reason I disagree is because Star is Born will definitely be out next week, but I'm worried about Bad Times at the Royale.
They both end this week and you can only go watch one. That's what I'm basically
I would say Star is Born.
I'm going to see Bad Times at the Royale.
I would flip a coin. I think you'd enjoy more A Star is Born. I think for me it was pipped. It pipped the better film because I was invested more with the two characters. The storyline and the film, overall production of the film for A Bad Time is better, but I think purely you have to go watch. Do you know what's really weird? One performance, I had to stop myself from clapping because I was sat at the front and there's one.
Did you think it was a concert?
Yeah, I thought it was at a bloody concert, and I had to stop myself from clapping.
Well, it's very strange because I actually said that because he's got such a deep voice in it and the way he plays, the way he looks, he's very Eddie Vedder from Pearl Jam, isn't he? And you're a massive Eddie Vedder fan. And when I was watching it, I was thinking Aaron is going to love this.
And I wanted my long hair back when I saw it.
Yeah.
All that stuff.
I will say they're two completely different films, aren't they?
Yeah.
I mean, obviously we discussed this with Venom and A Star is Born. I'm not saying... well, you know what I mean? When we talk about those two going against each other.
All right, then.
You wouldn't say let's go see this film
now
because...
mix them together. You're doing a crossover.
A splooge is born.
A splooge is born. Do it. Right. Bradley Cooper comes across a splooge in a bar.
But yeah, I'd love to go see them both twice. But for me, I just absolutely loved A Star is Born.
So I'm going to finish our three main features then with First Man. So I came out of A Star is Born, came home, walked the dog, had a sandwich, and then I was hot-footed straight back to the cinema where I was going to watch, and before you ask, it was Peanut Butter and Jam.
I was going to ask.
And I went back to watch...
Crunchy or smooth?
Crunchy, mate.
No, good. There's only one choice.
Smooth? Smooth for gift to the dog, mate. So then I went back to watch First Man, the Ryan Gosling film that's just come out, which is also starring Claire Foy and Jason Clarke, who... he's got... Non-judgmentally, he's got a weird-shaped head. Do you know?
Non-judgmentally, okay.
I mean, I'm not saying I've got a symmetrical head at all, but weird-shaped head. Anyway, so it's directed by Damien Chazelle. Now, the problem with this film before I went into it is because I just watched A Star is Born, which it's really
draining. It's emotional.
I was, and I must admit, the first 20 minutes of First Man, I struggled to get into it because I was too busy thinking about the ending of A Star is Born and how much I really enjoyed it, and I still had the music in my head and everything. Because First Man is a very quiet film, and it's a very slow burn. It's a good 2 hours and 20 minutes long. Damien Chazelle, I'm a big fan of, the director. Whiplash was phenomenal. La La Land, I don't like musical films. I said that in this episode when we talked about Les Mis. I don't like musicals, but somehow I loved La La Land. It converted me for that one film. So watching this, I was really, really hoping for something amazing, and in a world which I don't know a lot of, but I know enough of to think, I don't feel the need to know anything more about space missions and rockets and astronauts and that kind of stuff. But this is the telling of Neil Armstrong going through his career as a aero engineer right the way through to being the first man who landed on the moon. Spoilers, the film's called First Man. And it is documenting really the challenges around the American NASA team trying to, the space race against the Soviets and the Russians, essentially. And how the Russians were always one step ahead in space exploration. And it kind of goes through the phases of NASA learning how to dock in space, looking at how they would attempt the landing and that kind of stuff. And this plays out over about 2 hours. Ryan Gosling does his best silent Ryan Gosling performance in this film. Like Drive, I really loved because of how silent he was in that film. Anyone who knows Ryan Gosling, I've been a big fan of him. When he did the Notebook film, he was sick of talking because that film is dialogue driven. The Notebook film, beautiful film though. James, you're a bird, I'm a bird. Have you seen the film?
I haven't seen it.
Oh, okay, well, you won't get that reference.
Really? Oh, we should watch it, mate.
Yeah, we should. Rachel McAdams is lovely in that film as well.
Do you like Rachel McAdams?
Yeah. Did you like her in True Detective Series 2?
No.
No, you didn't. Yeah, so...
Colin Farrell's mustache, there you go. Season 2. That was a mustache.
There we go. So...
Greatest mustaches. Next episode.
So Ryan Gosling looking at his career when he did Drive, took out all the dialogue in the film and made it this kind of moody performance where if you watch that film, or you watch Drive, he only speaks if he needs to respond to the storyline.
Yes.
There are times when people ask him questions and he doesn't answer them.
Doesn't he have the most dialogue with the kid?
Yeah, the kid, and I think it's ironically with the robbers at the beginning of that film. But since then, Ryan Gosling's gone on this career of kind of staring a lot in films and not saying a hell of a lot of stuff.
And then you seen that thing about him not eating his cereal.
Not eating his cereal.
That is amazing.
Blade Runner was like 200...
He's just doing films now where he's silent, doesn't eat his cereal.
Yeah. Blade Runner was 2 hours and 50 minutes long where he doesn't say a hell of a lot. And so this is his most...
Yeah, all he does is kind of stare off into space in that film.
Yeah.
And then he meets Harrison Ford and they barely talk to each other.
Yeah. This and so for me with this, I kind of, after seeing Star is Born, which was very dialogue driven, and the relationships that they had in that, for this I felt a bit cold and I couldn't really latch onto it, and then after 20 minutes I couldn't see past that Ryan Gosling, I was like, oh, is he doing this again? And it might be that Neil Armstrong was like that and he's depicted him very, very well, but for me that was kind of a flaw. Claire Foy is really good in it. I really enjoyed her as Janet Armstrong. Yeah, she's, as we saw, she's coming out in the new Girl with the Dragon Tattoo spin-off, the Girl in the Spider's Web, so that looks interesting. The saving feature of the film is it puts you in the cockpit of that spaceship and every shuttle launch that is in this film.
Claustrophobic, I'm thinking?
A little bit of that.
A lot of like squeezed in focus lenses.
Yeah, that kind of sort of rickety lenses, so it shakes as and a lot of people are giving it the feedback of saying it's a bit rickety, the camera action. A lot of the big scenes where they are going off into space, instead of seeing the rocket on the outside, you're looking at the takeoff through a very, very small window.
So
in
it's
the
like
cockpit.
space getting bigger, not
the
shuttle
and
getting
it
smaller.
And it getting like the bluer changing to a darker black. We're in space, and it's that whole eruption as they're going up in the rocket, and then when they cut off those kind of thrusters or what have you, it kind of goes very silent very quickly. And the trailer to this film, Damien Chazelle says that they went up and they did the space landing with less technology in that cockpit than we have in an iPhone today. And that's what this film is showing you. This isn't a Ryan Gosling, Damien Chazelle film. This is showing you the brilliance of human engineering, that they could do this on a shoestring of technology in comparison to what we've got today. And also there's that timeline, that they were, they landed on the moon 60 years to when they got up in the air in the first place. And now we're kind of roughly 60 years on from that. It's kind of, there's symmetry with timelines. So it's quite a relevant film to bring up today.
I will love this film for one reason. I love the idea of space exploration, not Star Trek and Star Wars. The fact that there's a moon and man wanted to put a flag on it. I think it's fantastic. And from the trailers, I'm basing this all on a trailer that I saw, is that they focus on the dilemma of the family, which is understandable because I imagine being the first man to walk on the moon is crazy. I just wish it had been done with a love of space exploration. I think it's Neil Armstrong or Buzz Aldrin said that when you're flying off into space at G-forces that you cannot experience on essentially a time bomb, because if something goes wrong, you will explode. Just remember that everything behind you was made by the lowest bidder. So they were like petrified because that was all low tech and very inexpensive.
Yeah.
That if one thing goes wrong, they die. You don't really need a storyline with that. There's your tension.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that comes across really well in this.
Oh, does it? Oh, that's
I think those kind of relationships, the Buzz Aldrin character as well, you know, I think that, I don't know the relationship with Neil Armstrong, but that isn't what I thought it was. I thought they were best mates, you know, that kind of thing. And there's a bit of friction between the two.
I never see Neil Armstrong in like personal life. Do you? You always see Buzz Aldrin, but you never see Neil Armstrong.
Yeah. I mean, I knew him enough to know that he's got the kind of side part and blondish hair. So maybe some press conferences when, you know, in the 60s. When it, you know, obviously it builds up to him being the first man, and we know that Neil Armstrong was the first man on the moon. The scenes up there are really, really good, visually stunning. You know, and you feel like you've been on a journey with them at that point where, you know, towards the, you know, the final act of the film. So I like those parts of it. And I felt I came away learning about it, you know, depending on how historically correct and accurate the film is, which I imagine needs because it's Damien Chazelle.
Yeah, he does pride himself in that, doesn't he?
Yeah, you know, the accuracy of it. I feel that it's a really informative film, but I don't think it's the Oscar let's put it this way. If this won anything over A Star Is Born, I would be gutted. Yeah. And that's coming from a Ryan Gosling and Damien Chazelle Claire Foy fan. You know, I'd be quite disappointed if you know, if they won it.
Would you go see it again, like on its own, without?
I would go watch it in 4DX at the IMAX. Yeah, where the seats move. I think, let's go for it. If we're going to do it, let's do it that way.
Yeah, I'm thinking about going to see it tomorrow. That's all. So if you want to go,
yeah. I mean, it might be better the second time round.
I've seen it Wednesday night.
Well, you can report back to me on the next episode and let you know how it goes.
Yeah.
Great film. It's really, really good. In comparison, I still, though, count it as a streak. You know, so we talked about the streak in an episode a few episodes back. The streak is when you go to the cinema or you watch a new release on Netflix and it's brilliant, and then you watch another film that's brilliant. You have then entered a streak. You've got to see how far you can get it.
We're on a streak.
These three this has started a new streak.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think I was on a mini streak anyway. I think it goes back to about Hotel Artemis.
Yeah, well, Death of Stalin for me, I hadn't seen it and watched that.
No, right,
so for me, I'm free in now. So I've got to be very careful about what the next film is that I go watch. Probably not Goosebumps 2, is what I'm saying.
Oh, really? I bought my tickets.
Oh, dear. He'll come back next week. He's like, boys, I'm on
board.
My God. I'm on board.
The streak continues.
The streak continues.
First Man, where on the map's it going?
It's
space.
Yeah, it's out of this world, James.
Is it? Do you know what you were saying? You keep staring off into space. I didn't know if that's because I was desperate to go, and that's why he's the host. So it's all they were going.
It's a very well filmed and acted film. It is. You know, there are not many faults other than my own. Really, you know, is all it is.
East.
Yeah. I mean, on our map of greatness, I'd say it's kind of northeast. Really,
northeast.
It's not Shannon, Michael Shannon, but it's by no means Adam Sandler, bloody hell. You know. Great. So there are three main features coming in at 1 hour and 3 minutes. And I said at the top of the episode, if we pick any films or if we talk about any episodes in in this episode, then we either put them into the pit, which is a place where films do not come back from, or what we call Sam's Hole. Now,
We're getting rid of to discuss this.
We're getting rid of the pit.
Right. So up until now, I've always struggled at hosting these episodes when I get to this point because there's 3 categories we put films into, and we're gonna actually say let's just call it 2.
We're going to drop the pit.
So
the pit is just now.
The pit was bad. So the pit was bad films.
The pit was bad films that you can still talk about.
Yeah. So we're going to get rid of that, and we will just call them and shame them that they are bad films, but we won't categorise them.
We won't categorise them.
So now with the Vault, our top 100 films.
Yes.
And then we have Sam's Hole, which if it goes in there, it doesn't come out, and we do not talk about it. Yes. We don't even acknowledge that film exists anymore.
So that's the worst of the worst.
Yeah. Yes. So there's 2 categories that we look into. Now, for anyone who's listening who's thinking, well, what happens when you get to the 100? To be honest, we are in Act 1, or the origin of the Sorry You're in My Seat podcast.
This is how I always thought about it. So on The Road Not Bacon, at any point, Nicolas Cage could lose his mind and nuke The Road Not Bacon.
Yes.
So we have to save some films.
I like this.
So that's where the Vault is. But unfortunately, the Vault, like everything, only has a finite set of resources. So we can only feed certain films.
See, I like that better than mine, which is I saw Sam's DVD collection and I was like, mate, we'll get you to watch some good films. And therefore, we started coming up with these vault ideas.
Yeah, exactly.
The idea being, though, that when the 100 is set, we enter phase 2 of the podcast, which is then it becomes all out battle royale.
It is. It
where
becomes for and against.
Yeah, it's a fallout chamber of 100 films we can save, and each week we'll bring in films that we are getting rid of in favour of new ones that we found. So the phase 1 we are still in, which is find these top 100 films. I think we have 2 definite going into it this week, do we?
Oh, yes.
Great. First man.
I was going to make a joke. Are we not doing
Lego movie?
I thought we were going to do Stir Records too.
TV movie. I'm not sure if we can count that one. No,
it's a TV movie.
TV movie. Thank you very much. TV adaptation movie. Let's put in then Bad Times at El Royale and Star is Born.
Do you know what?
2018. Put their brackets in case anyone wonders. It's the Barbra Streisand one.
I haven't actually seen the Barbra Streisand one. Are we going to stick Lego Batman in?
I really want to. I absolutely love it.
Do you know what? It's going to be one there. It's going to be one that's going to be voted out soonish.
Yeah, it's fodder.
It's fodder.
Yeah,
it's
but I still think
I like to think that one day that might get reissued and it can, and we get to the stage where this podcast is taken off. And
it was formerly
in the top 100
before they throw it into the furnace of Nicolas Cage's rage.
Oh, can we please put Lego Batman?
Yeah, put Lego Batman in.
Yes.
First animated film. No, it is.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, because I would put Kubo in there, but you guys hadn't seen it.
Kubo.
Oh, yeah, we're going to watch it.
So the only other rule is all 3 of us need to have seen the film to put it in the vault, and we all needed to have seen it relatively, because if not, we could just sit here for, an episode and just say 100 films that we've seen, throw in all sorts of stuff. But
yeah,
it has to be ones that we've seen since the start of this podcast, so we can re-explore it, re-look at it, and then put it in. Now, any film that's been so bad that it's got to go into the hole. Again, all 3 of us need to have seen it.
Stir of Echoes 2 we haven't seen, so...
I have seen it.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Oh, I haven't.
Yeah. As soon as he said Bob Lowe, I was like, yeah, that's a fair point. I have seen it.
Okay, so nothing really going into that this week.
I wouldn't watch it though, Sam. I wouldn't watch it just so you can throw it in the
This is the worst thing when you two go, oh, it needs to go in the old. I'm then not going to watch that, so it can't go in there.
Bad film.
Oh, so I mentioned it in last week's episode. I stick this flipper in the hole. Inferno.
Yeah. So we're talking about the Dan Brown adaptation.
The Dan Brown, the third one.
Felicity Jones.
Tom Hanks. Ron Howard's at it again. I've got a question for you. If you're trying to send that guy a message, send him a text. Why do you have to write it in blood, then hide the blood, and then send him like a weird thing?
Have you seen Inferno, Sam?
Years ago, yeah.
It is.
Because I really liked...
I really like the opening, because in the opening you see the people... He's been shot in the head. No, it's concussion. But is it really? You see the people as Dante would have seen them in the poem. So they're all like rotting on the sidewalk and all in
a lot of CGI, which isn't in the other two.
But I was really liking it. I was like, oh, this is really cool. And then about 30 seconds into the film, I was done.
Yeah, my problem with Inferno is it's the weaker of the 3, which is kind of like saying you stood in a bit of dog shit.
It's like saying a mudslide, not as bad as a tornado or a genocide.
It's like saying you stood in a bit. You still stood in it. That to me is this. It's not none of the. I mean, yeah, maybe Ewan McGregor is interested in the second one.
He follows the same storyline as them all. As in the person you didn't think was the bad guy was the bad guy.
If you do not see the twist in Inferno coming before it happens, go out, leave, stop watching films.
Just go.
If you do not see that and the part where it will turn on its head, you need to go out. Also, I'm going to address it right off the bat at the beginning. You talk about the scene where Tom Hanks wakes up. This film starts off where Tom Hanks wakes up in a hospital with concussion and he's hallucinating that Dante's Inferno is happening in front of his very eyes. Mm-hmm. At which case, someone comes to visit him in the hospital who he thinks is a shady character, so he locks the door. Hospitals do not have locks on the insides of the doors. If you did not see that when it happened, I'm giving away that he might not be in a hospital, ladies and gentlemen.
What about when he then thinks about it for the rest of the film? He keeps going, it keeps playing in his head. He's like, something's not right.
What about the fact that he doesn't leave from a hospital? He comes out of a building. At what point did he not go, wait, this is an hospital?
This is a bloke's house.
Yeah. Fucking film. Yeah, I would put that in there.
God, he's so bad.
If we're getting rid of Snorlax Pit, it's only got 6 in it, but we need to know whether they're going to leave or come. Right, A Beautiful and Dead, is that going in my hole?
Yes, it's going in your hole.
The Bachelor, is it going in my hole?
No, it's got Tom Hanks in it. Oh no, so is Inferno.
Yeah.
No, we can only put one. There's only room for one Hanks in your hole.
Green Street.
Fuck yes.
Yes, throw that in.
Jesus.
Bad Grandpa.
Yes.
And
I thought I was in the hole.
No.
And
Bad
Click's
Grandpa.
going in.
And Click, definitely. There you go. So they're going into the hole.
Cool. So they were ones previously we just put in the bad movie pile. They're now actually going. They've been demoted. Can you believe Click's gone lower? So the only way
There's only one way it could go lower is if it somehow, mate, like the Oscars ever give him like an award ceremony and it's on there, and you just think, well, it was the death of movies.
So the only way to end our episode is, as we do each and every week, I've got a cinema box. I've collected every ticket to every film I've been to since about 2002. Sam puts his hand in, he pulls out a cinema ticket, and James and I will see if we can remember anything of interest about the film. And it could be a last-minute wild card to throw into the vault or into the pit. So what have we got, Sam?
Well, 9th of April, 14 years ago.
God.
Oh, so this is one of the early ones then.
At 22, it's a green ticket.
It's a green ticket.
At 20 to 4 in the afternoon.
Slow day.
14 years ago, a cinema ticket was £5.70. I went on a full rant about the price of sweets and cinema yesterday. I'm getting so old.
Oh my God, if there was imagine how much popcorn was then compared to now.
I know.
There are cinema tickets in there, some of the green ones. So the Odeon tickets before they were white paper used to be orange, and then before that they used to be green.
Yeah.
And then before that they used to be A4 slices of paper. They used to be frigging massive.
I'm certain there's some in there that were £3.80.
Whoa.
So remember that. Mate. Remember that when you're paying £12 your ticket.
Right. So row J, seat 10 and screen 4. You went to see Gothica.
Yeah, guilty.
I didn't mind that.
I was young and impressionable. I didn't like that film. Halle Berry in some kind of weird asylum.
I didn't mind it. I didn't hate it.
Starts to see things or things happen to her, and somehow she's a doctor who then becomes the victim and becomes incarcerated in the same place that she was supposed to help people. Weirdly, this is just before Robert Downey Jr. got his act together and did Iron Man.
Yes, that's who I was trying to think of. As soon as you mentioned Gothica, I was like, who's the serial killer weirdo in that?
I don't know.
No, I always get confused because doesn't he play that in an Ashley Judd film as well? Because there's about 3 films that I always get confused with. Gothica, the one with Ashley Judd, I think is Andy Garcia that haunts her dreams, and The Cell with Jennifer Lopez.
Hold the Cell for a second. Hold the Cell for a second, because that's an interesting conversation that I'd like to come up before we end the episode. Yeah, I know what you mean. This is one of those where it blurs them lines where you're like, I can remember bits of it. It's kind of Gothica. It's a bit of a gothic horror thriller, like I say, Asylum, Shutter Island tones to it.
I was going to say it's like a bad Shutter Island.
Yeah, the only things I can really remember is Limp Bizkit brought out the song Behind Blue Eyes,
which was awesome
for this. And it's weird that I have fonder memories of a Limp Bizkit song than I do of a Halle Berry movie. Halle Berry won an Oscar. This is worrying that she was in this film.
Not for this though, right?
No, she would have for Monsters Ball, I think.
God, that film was good.
Not a great film. Not bad enough for the whole, but definitely a long shot off with
definitely. I didn't mind it, but this is the sort of film that I watched back in the day.
This now is a Channel 4 1 a.m. film.
Definitely,
it's just a nondescript film, isn't it? It's got its selling point was.
Halle Berry.
It's kind of scary.
Asylum, yeah.
I remember if it went down the Sam Neill Mouth of Madness route.
I love that
and
film.
If it went through it, I probably would have enjoyed it. But what it did was, I mean, for any young people listening to this that are now mad on the Conjuring and those kind of films.
Insidious,
this was our generation's version of those films. These kind of freaky thrillers. This came out when Robert De Niro was doing films like Hide and Seek and that kind of stuff where they were just standalone thriller picks. They were never too scary to become a full-on horror, but they were scary enough to get that 15 certificate. So
do you know what that film will always go up against in my head of that certain age? When they started remaking all of those old Hammer horror, not Hammer horror,
like Amityville and stuff like that.
Amityville, when they did 13 Ghosts with Shaloub, and what was the one where he plays Vincent Price?
House on Haunted Hill.
House on Haunted Hill.
Yeah. It was Jeffrey Rush, wasn't it?
It was Jeffrey Rush, thank you. And where he just plays a fantastic version.
That was the best thing about that film, was the first scene with him. Well, he's in the whole film, but his first opening scenes.
And Famke Jensen, she used to be in movies.
Turned up in it, yeah.
She was a long time ago.
She used to be an X-Men.
No. And
and that's it.
I don't, like I say, such a nondescript film. It to me muddled up with The Cell.
So Cell, have you seen this one, Sam? Cell.
I don't
Not
think
to
I
be
have.
mistaken with what we should have put in the pit a long time ago on the Stephen King episode, the Stephen King film Cell with John Cusack and Samuel Jackson.
I think when you look back on your life, that would be your biggest regret.
What, watching that film? Or not putting it in?
Both.
Both, yeah. This one is a Jennifer Lopez, Vince Vaughn film.
Yeah, you see, this does ring a bell.
So this is
the bad guys in it plays Kingpin, Vincent D'Angelo.
You're right, yeah. So this is one of those films where critics didn't like it, but if you actually watch it, it's actually really good.
It's very artsy.
Yeah, it's a horror film. Basically, Jennifer Lopez and Vince Vaughn are kind of cops.
Vince Vaughn's a cop. He's hunting a serial killer. She's a doctor.
She's like a mind.
She's working with that autistic child, I want to say, who can't vocalize his problems. So she's developed like I want to say, dream machine.
She's found a way to go into people's consciousness. Right. Vince Vaughn is tracking down a serial killer who has kidnapped someone and has hidden them in a trap. And they go and storm the house at the opening of the film. And in the process of arresting him, they actually put him in a coma. And there's a bit of an accident where he's running away.
This is sounding really familiar.
But he's hidden a body somewhere.
He's hidden a body, and there's still time to find his last victim before obviously she meets her doom. So he always goes for these same characters, these young kind of teenage girls who he's been kidnapping and then murdering. Jennifer Lopez then comes into the picture by saying we can go into his mind and try and find him in there and ask him, where did you find it? So right off the bat, an absolutely unrealistic premise to the film.
Turns out serial killers, mate, they're a bit mental.
When you go into their minds, it's a bit weird. It is a bit weird. It's like a Marilyn Manson video when they go in there.
Oh, really?
It's like a horror maze with all these creepy rooms, and so the opening scene, so when she goes in his mind, because Vince Vaughn goes in and then Jennifer Lopez goes in, or the other way around. There's this horse in front of her, and then when she approaches it, it splits into about 50 pieces.
That's weird.
Thinly dissected.
I have seen this film.
There are
she's
bits
dressed
where,
up in S&M gear at one point.
There's a bit where she's walking across this black beach, and there's all these people sat on it, staring at the moon, mumbling, and it's just one of these really Marilyn Manson-esque. And I thought it was absolutely just different, and I love like thriller crime books. So this is kind of like my backbone of what I read is these kind of things. And it had all this kind of psychology around it about how the killer kind of kills these women and then he baths them in bleach so that their hair goes blonde and their skin goes pale. And that's because his dad would never let him play with dolls as a kid. So he's creating dolls in real. And it had all these layers in it.
Going out and buying a Barbie, he's decided to become a serial killer.
He went and made these lifestyle ones. These lifestyle ones. It had all these like layers to it. You were like, okay, I can kind of see this. And it just turned into this fucking weird movie that came out of nowhere.
I really like this film and I'm going to spoil the hell out of it now.
The film came out in like 2003. So.
Yeah, I know. Weirdly, I'll give spoilers for those kind of films, but not for films I saw yesterday. So basically, I really like the artsiness of it, although I did feel like the bloke in the corner was going, do you get it? The director was like just in the corner going, do you get it?
Oh, he spoon feeds you all the way, don't get me wrong.
But he goes to the ending where basically she can't kill him because it's his consciousness, but he's got his inner child. His inner child's in it and he's quite innocent and everything. So she can't kill the main guy whilst he's killing Vince Vaughn because if you die in a dream, if you die in real life, it goes proper Freddy Krueger.
It goes Matrix at one point.
It does. So she basically drowns the child to kill the serial killer to save Vince Vaughn. But my biggest problem with that
is this Inception?
But my biggest problem is when she's killing the child, did you notice that she turns into the Virgin Mary?
Yeah.
The last scene, and I just remember thinking, bullshit.
It did get a bit weird at the end.
It got a bit weird. Jennifer Lopez is the Virgin Mary drowning a child in Kingpin's dream.
Well, Vince Vaughn is in it, not doing a lot. He's the cop as well.
He's the cop. Oh.
Moral of the story, what's to sell, not first man, apparently.
I quite liked it.
I did like it until the end, and then the ending was, I was just, no.
I'll watch it. If I find it, I haven't seen it on anything, but I will revisit it. I must have been 15, 16 when I watched that. I remember getting it.
I reckon you'll be able to find it.
Yeah, I think I rented it from Blockbuster at the time.
How many times do you reckon in that film that bloke was just like, do you get it? He just had to go to everyone, do you get it?
Do you know what it was? It was like an extended X-File episode.
That's what we're going well off a topic now, but do you know Final Destination? Oh, I've already said
it.
Yeah, we mentioned it. I was boring, going full circle.
I'll say that.
Let's call it there just before we hit the 1 hour 20 mark. So next week we are doing our Halloween episode.
Yeah, we are.
Cool. So do join us next week. We're going to talk about Halloween movies. No doubt I'll talk about films that I'm too scared to watch. And maybe I'll just talk about spooky films instead of horror films.
This is where Sam gets to come and play.
This is where Sam gets to play with his toys.
Yeah.
Talk about all his nasty horror stuff.
Yeah.
In fact, actually, should we do it where, James, you bring to the table films that are horror classics and where horror is used in the right tone, Exorcist, Halloween, that kind of stuff. So maybe you could go absolutely off the walls and talk about some of your, Machine Gun, Driller, Killer 5 from space.
Oh, yes, please.
And I'll talk about films like Casper the Friendly Ghost and Coraline, and I'll do Nightmare Before Christmas. Maybe?
Yeah. Oh,
I don't know if there'll be enough time. I don't know.
An interesting conversation came up, and this is one for you to ponder out, listeners. The Nightmare Before Christmas. Halloween film or Christmas film?
I like how you said that in your best presenter voice as well.
James really wanted you to end the podcast.
I can't, because I end it each week by saying, if I don't see you later, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Why is it whenever you want me to speak, you do this? Do you know what? I'm just going to throw a finger in your face sometime.
Because I don't ever want it to be, I don't know why I'm still talking to that. I don't ever want it to be where it's like,